Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Bruce, America's Sleep Doctor, and I'm here to bring sleep awareness about some of the amazing things that are going on at the Dr. Oz Show and some of the data that we've been able to collect, which has been really, really interesting. I know you're going to see some interesting things from the show, but one of the things we did was we did the largest sleep study that's actually ever been using objective data. Actually, we use this thing called an S+ tracking system. We have a lot of them out there. I think almost 20,000 of them out there, tracking people's sleep and learning more about what's going on with people. So today's show had a lot to do with that. But you know, it's kind of amazing when you start to look at the differences that we see in people and their sleep. As an example, one of the things that you're going to learn about is the differences between men and women's total sleep time. So I'm not going to spoil things too much for you, but women do have a tendency to sleep a little bit more than men have a tendency to do. But I got to be honest with you, the amounts of sleep for both genders are not particularly where I'd like to see them. They're both less than 6.5 hours. And we know that if you're sleeping less than 6.5 hours, that could actually put you into the danger zone. We really don't want to see people there because your reaction time slows down, your thinking time slows down, you get a lot moodier. Things aren't necessarily going to go when you're sleeping less than 6.5 hours. And you know, it's kind of amazing when you take that kind of information and you think about some of the information that's in my new book, which is called The Power of When. One of the things that I talk about in this book is that you can actually learn a lot about something called your chronotype. So you might not have heard of that word chronotype before, but let me tell you, you actually have. Anybody out there ever heard of being an early bird or a night owl? Those are chronotypes. And so it turns out that there are 4 different chronotypes. And if you want, you can check them out on my quiz, which is at thepowerofwhenquiz.com, figuring out what your chronotype is. But why would you ever want to do that? Here's where it gets interesting and relates back to some of this information for National Sleep Awareness Week, is some people who are early morning people have a tendency to get up and have a tendency to have a different sleep amount. Whereas some people who are night people have a tendency to not like mornings very much. By the way, I'm one of those night people. And by the way, Dr. Oz is one of those morning people, so we kind of have to tape our shows sometimes in the middle of the day. Works better for both of us. And we learn a lot about what is going on with our body. So not just about our sleep cycles, but once you know your sleep, you actually know what your hormone distribution is throughout the day. You can actually pick times of the day where your body is primed and ready to do certain things. Everything from what's the best time to have sex, eat a cheeseburger, run a mile, you name it. It's all in The Power of When. So I was super excited to have an opportunity to talk a little bit about that and to think a little bit about what some people can be doing during National Sleep Awareness Week to actually help promote their own levels of sleep. So one of the first things I tell everybody to do, track your sleep. Now, you can use a piece of paper and write it down, or if you want to get a little bit more extensive, there's some really cool sleep trackers out there. The one we use for the show is called the S+, that's just the letter S with the plus sign, and it actually sits by your bedside, and what it does is it actually sends out a signal to be able to figure out your breathing, your movement, even your heart rate at times, because different stages of sleep have different signals that the body sends out. So this machine, not only can it tell you what stage of sleep you're in, it also monitors things like temperature, noise, and light, and can give you suggestions about how to sleep a little bit better. But just the mere fact that you're monitoring your sleep, whether you use an S+ or not, actually has been shown to increase total sleep time pretty significantly, almost better than sleeping pills. And by the way, I'm not a huge fan of a lot of the sleeping pills that are out there. I get it. There are times when it might be important to have a sleeping pill. But generally speaking, we all know that sleep is a natural process. And it's really something that we want to have people do naturally as opposed to having to use some type of a pharmaceutical intervention. So don't worry about your sleep, but take heed. Now is the time to learn about your sleep and be able to do something about it. A couple other quick tips that I can let people know is exercise. If you want to have the one thing out there, other than keeping a consistent bedtime that's going to improve your sleep, it's daily exercise. And I'm not talking about running a marathon here. I'm saying 20 to 30 minutes of some form of cardio is actually going to improve not only your ability to fall asleep, but the depth of your sleep and your ability to get into deep sleep. All this and a lot more is available in my book, and as well, when you see the show, you're going to be pretty amazed at some of the things that happen. So happy National Sleep Awareness Week from the Sleep Doctor.